Good evening and welcome to Fresh Off Virtual Church. I'm so glad that you guys tuned in to be with us again on another Wednesday. So excited because what is taking place in our world, we need this word tonight. We need this teaching tonight. And we're coming to the conclusion of part 6 of this series entitled Storm Shelter out of Psalms 46. But this is something that you need to understand because you and I are in storms right now. Don't be fooled by the smiles that you see on people's face or the words that you hear them saying or the church lingo that they are saying. I need you to understand that everyone is in a storm. And I need you to understand this thing. Storms don't discriminate. Regardless of your gender, regardless of your background, regardless of your social status, regardless of titles, understand storms don't discriminate. Storms, when we're talking about issues and crises. And there's something else about storms that you need to understand. Storms exhibit repetitive behaviors or repetitive patterns. In other words, there will always be three things that you and I will always encounter when we talk about storms as long as you and I are living. Number one, understand regardless of how anointed you may be, regardless of how intellectual you may be, regardless of wherever you may be stated, understand that these are three patterns that you and I will endure in this lifetime called storms. One is an entrance. Everyone gets a turn. Everyone gets an opportunity to go in. And are you ready for this? You don't have to pay a fee. So the first one is an entrance. The second one is what you call a transition zone. It's a passageway. That's the middle. And then finally, there's an exit. So all your life, you will be going through these repetitive patterns of storms, an entry, a transitioning zone, and then an exit. And the psalmist says, God is our refuge. This is what you need to understand. In the midst of a storm, you've got to understand where your safety valve is. And he says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with swelling thereof, Selah. There is a river, the streams whereof shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High. Understand when we talk about storms. A storm's definition. Listen, a violent disturbance of the atmosphere. You need to understand wherever you are at, that becomes your atmosphere. And so a storm is a violent disturbance in that atmosphere that you occupy. Understand that there are conditions you cannot control, the severity of it, its exact path, and the unpredictable, instantaneous hazards that it poses. So understand about these storms. When they come and you can't control them. You can pray all you want. You can fast, you can talk in tongues, you can touch and agree. But understand when these storms, these conditions come into your life, you cannot control them, nor do you know the severity of the damage it will cause. And then here's the key thing. You don't even know the exact path that it will take. Will it affect? Will it come to your mind? Will it come to your money? Will it come to your health? Will it come to your relationships? And then the unpredictable, instantaneous hazards that it poses. And now let's deal with the spiritual storm. Understand, it is a period of intense trials. They're hard, they're heavy. So it's a period. It's a space of time of intense trials. Profound difficulties. Unexpected crisis. traumatic events, crippling diagnosis to challenge your faith. I need you to understand when these storms come in, the storms come in with a purpose. The storm come in with an agenda. And that agenda is it wants to challenge your faith. It wants to see the strength of your faith. It wants to see where your faith fold. And so when we talk about the challenge of your faith, this is what you and I need to understand. Because it is so easy to just throw this word out and tell people when they're going through a storm, when they're experiencing some tough times in their life, you have to tell them more than just say simply have faith. So faith in Greek means, listen, trust without a doubt. So trust means confidence. It means belief, and then finally assurance. So what is your trust in? What is your confidence in? You're putting your trust in God and God all alone. You're putting your trust in Jesus, who already declared that you can do all things through him. Not only are you putting your trust in him, listen, you're putting your trust in God's word. You're trusting, listen, that God is going to be faithful to what he said concerning your situation and concerning its outcome and concerning what he said he was going to do. Here's the confidence that he said. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. My words will be your refuge. Listen to this. Who or what you trust in, you'll run to in a crisis. I'll say it again. Who or what you trust in, you'll run to in a crisis. In other words, if you put your trust that mama always gonna bail you out, you put it in daddy always got your back. Big sister, little brother, your homeboy got it. Your bank got it. Your job got it. You need to understand who you put your trust in. And that will be who you'll run to when the rubber meets the road. But this is something you need to understand about storms. Storms will leave you destitute by destroying homes and causing power outages. Wow. How can I relate to that? Understand when it talks about destroying homes, it's talking about being demolished from within. You're falling to pieces inside. You're simply going through the motions. You're living, but you're not living. You're here, but you're only existing. Why? Because the storm that you are going through, it is slowly but surely causing you to deteriorate from within. In other words, it's an implosion. Now, the next thing that it causes a power outage. Somebody said, Pastor, what do you mean a power outage? Are you ready? A power outage is caused by a closed mouth without faith. Proverbs tells us death and life are in the power of the tongue. So understand that some of these storms, when they come into your life, what they want to do is they want to destroy you from within. Sometimes the devil sends storms into your life because he wants to destroy you from within. Because listen, where there is no faith, then becomes destruction. Not only does he send in his demonic attacks, but just the issues of life come in. And the storm comes in with an intent, one intent, and that's to keep your mouth closed. Because as long as you have a closed mouth, understand that sometimes your deliverance is in your mouth. Understand if you keep your mouth closed, then you don't even know how to encourage yourself when you need to encourage yourself. If you keep your mouth shut, you can't even take the word and speak over your own life. If you keep your mouth shut, you can't speak life into a dead situation. It's a power outage. Now also, storms cause, listen to this, displacement and homelessness. I'm not talking about no hurricane. I'm not talking about Katrina. But storms cause displacement and homelessness. Listen, meaning your thoughts get relocated. When you come under constant attack and the storm is severe, it causes your thoughts to be relocated because you start thinking about your problem and not about God's promises. You start thinking about your situation and you stop thinking about who is in control of your situation. So your thoughts get relocated. And the Bible does, for as he thinks in his heart, for as he thinks in his mind, so is he. Now let's deal with this homelessness when the storm comes in. Because we're not talking about a physical homelessness state already. When it talks about this homelessness from this storm that's coming, the crisis has allowed the flesh to evict the spirit man, meaning your faith out in the cold. Hashtag year-round shelter. The psalmist lets you and I know, listen, that there will be storms. He lets you and I know that there will be valley experiences. He lets you and I know that there will be some dark moments in our lives. He lets you and I know, listen, that sometimes we won't always be up on the top. Sometimes we will have to experience some times when we're down and out. But when these storms come into your life, he says, this is what he wants you to understand. He says, God is our refuge. He's our strength. So let's deal with some storms now. In your financial storms, you need to understand that when we talk about financial storms, it's not based on per se of you being rich or poor, because you need to understand even the rich man has problems when it comes to his finances. So in your financial storms, will you seek, understand, listen, that what I love about God is that he gives you and I free will. He gives you and I an opportunity to choose, listen, what you think is best for you and your condition. So in your financial storms, will you seek comfort? Listen, in Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan or Morgan Stanley. In your emotional storms, will you seek safety in Prozac, Zoloft, or Celex? In your lonely storm. Understand, when we talk about lonely storm, you need to understand that you can be in the midst of a crowd and still be all by yourself. In a lonely storm, meaning internal conflict and struggle, feeling isolated and all alone. Whose arms do you run to feel safe? But this is what you need to understand. Storms are temporal. No matter how severe they may be, they're temporal. No matter how long you've been dealing with the storm, even though your today still looks like your tomorrow, this is what you need to understand about the storm. We always say trouble don't last always. That is a storm. But you need to understand storms are temporal. They're not permanent. They're phases. But your refuge is eternal. The eternal God, listen, is your refuge. And underneath are the everlasting arms, and he shall thrust out the enemy from before you. Hashtag, here's your question. Who's covering you? Let me say, I need you to understand, in troubling times, in the issues of life, in the setbacks, in the disappointments, in the seasons of pain and hurt, you need to understand that God is our refuge. And understanding, listen, this is about relationship. This is not about religion. This is about relationship. It's not about tradition. God is our refuge. In other words, there is no other place that you can run to get what you need in the midst of a traumatic situation. And this is how what you and I need to be able to understand, that we have to agree, because we're touching and agreeing. You're living proof that you've been sheltered in life storms. While we're here right now, and all you need to do is just look at your brother, your sister that's sitting next to you, and you're able to see that, listen, that they've been sheltered in life's storms. You at home, while you're watching, you can just think back in your mind and you can understand and realize that you've been sheltered in life's storms no matter how bad it's been. What do you mean? Sheltered in life's storms. Your mother was having all different forms of physical illnesses and different diseases were trying to creep into her. Your mother was put on bed rest when she was carrying you. You were being sheltered. Your crib didn't become your grave. Your adolescence drug experimentation didn't lead to an overdose. Your divorce broke you, but it didn't break you. Your encounter with systemic and structural racism still couldn't keep you from rising to the top in your field. Your stronghold could no longer hold you strong. Why? Because the name of the Lord. A name is identity. A name talks about someone's abilities, capabilities, their authority. Proverbs 18:10 says, the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and is safe. Understand that in the midst of a storm, regardless of whatever your storm is, understand God always attaches a promise to your storm. It's raining. What can go wrong does go wrong. The unexpected simply shows up and then it becomes the expected. The bottom seems to fall out. Your world seems like it's crumbling. It seems like there's a hurricane of different issues blowing in and out of your life. But the name of the Lord is your strong tower. The righteous runs into it. Listen, they don't run into the government. They don't run down to the picket line. They don't run to pick up overtime. They don't run to go get a second job. They don't run just to get a man or a woman just so that they don't feel lonely. In the midst of what you're going through, the name of the Lord is a strong tower, a safe place, a place of courage, a place of protection. Here's your promise. The righteous runs into it and is safe. Your storm cannot take you out. Your storm cannot cancel your tomorrow. Your storm does not mean that your life is at an end. Because here's your guarantee, the guarantee that God says, if you run into me, I will keep you safe. Also, we know how storms can be so devastating. Understand, storms destroy mental strength. God is our refuge. Listen, and our strength. Understand, storms will weaken you. Understand, storms can weaken you in such a way that you'll forget about getting on your knees. Storms can weaken you to cause you, that you stop reading your word. Storms will cause you to stop, giving those hour-long prayers and then giving God those 30-second prayers. Storms. He's our refuge and he's our strength. Understand, storms destroy mental strength. Overwhelming adversity can erode your psychological resilience, making it difficult to bounce back. David says, wait. When you're going through in the midst of your storm, don't give your emotions any authority over your feelings. He says, when you're going through what you're going through, this is what you need to do. Wait. W-A-I-T. And that is what sometimes you and I find ourselves getting in trouble, because in the midst of a storm, sometimes we don't know how to be still. Sometimes we allow our emotions to run instead of just being still. So wait in Hebrew simply means this. It means to look for, to hope for, to expect. So he says, when you're going through your storm, understand these two things. Understand that God is your refuge. There is no other safety net. God is our refuge. And then listen, he is your strength. And when he's talking about this strength, he is not talking about the strength that is gained from you and I working out, lifting heavy weights. But he's talking about spiritual strength. He's talking about mental strength. So he says, wait on the Lord and be of good courage. In other words, even though the winds are blowing, don't be in despair. Don't be distressed. Don't get depressed. But be of good courage. Listen, here's your promise in the midst of your storm. Listen, he shall, not that he might. He shall, that means that it's going to happen. He shall strengthen, listen, your heart. He's talking about your mind. Understand that sometimes when you are going through storms and you don't know how to keep your mind straight, your mind will cause you to believe things that are happening that have not yet happened. It will cause your mind to think that you won't win. It causes your mind to believe that it will always be like this. But he says, he shall strengthen your heart. He shall strengthen your mind. He'll get your thoughts together. He'll corral them. He'll keep your mind and allow your mind to see the things of the kingdom of heaven and not what's taking place on the earth. And then he says, I say, who? On the Lord. When you're going through your storm, you wait. Don't be discouraged. You've got promises. Promise. God is a safe place. He is your storm shelter. Second, he will be all the strength that you need to keep you strong. Finally, the promise, he shall give you strength. You shall not succumb to your situation. And he shall strengthen your mind. Because understand, that's all the storm wants to do. It wants to affect your thinking. Understand, when storms come into your life, listen, the devil wants to attack your faith. Oh, good. He wants to attack your faith and not your praise. I just said something. You can praise but not have faith. Hashtag, wait out your storm. Also, these storms, mental storms, can wear you down by continuous drama or stress, leaving you feeling drained, exhausted, and vulnerable. Mental storms, listen, mental storms will damage your coping mechanisms when it comes to challenges, stress, and pressure. But understand, in the midst of your storm, there's strength given in your storm. You need to understand the only reason why you're still standing is because God gave you some strength. The only reason why you haven't given up is because God has given you some strength. The only reason why you haven't stopped believing is because God has given you some strength. The only reason why you keep believing that tomorrow is going to be better than your today is because God has given you some strength. Understand, there's strength that's released after the process called waiting has been completed. Understand this thing about when you learn how to wait. Your wait in your storm gives birth to a promise. Your ability to wait. Listen, you're waiting in faith, waiting in hope, waiting in expectation. But here's your promise. Because you know how to wait in your storm. Isaiah says, but they that wait, but they that are standing still, but they that are hoping, but they who are expecting, but they who are trusting in God, they who have put their confidence in God, They that believe God's going to do exactly what he said he's going to do. They that believe, listen, that there is an assurance of just holding on to what God said. They that believe this very thing, what Paul said, being confident of this very thing, that he will perform everything that he said. But they that wait upon the Lord, listen, they shall renew their strength. Here's your promise. If you can just wait on the Lord, if you can just keep your emotions intact, if you can keep other people from speaking in your ear when you're going through, if you can just look at your situation through the eyes of God and not through out of your own flesh, here's the promise: your strength shall be renewed. Not only that, they shall mount up with wings as eagles. Understand that an eagle always rises above a storm. So not only are some promises given to you, but by you waiting, that your strength shall be renewed, but you're going to mount up with wings as eagles. In other words, there is a storm, but you learn how to fly above it. In other words, your worship love learns how to fly above. Your prayer life learns how to fly above. Your trust learns how to fly. Your faith learns how to fly above. And then here's some more connected to your promise. They shall run and not be weary. It's not talking about physical exertion, but it's talking about your spirit man moving, your spirit man holding on, your spirit man believing. And they shall walk and faint not. In other words, they shall live and faint not. That is what you need to understand in the midst of the storm that you're going through, that Jesus is a storm shelter. And you need to understand that regardless of however the strong winds may be blowing, you need to understand that you can still live in the midst of your storm and not faint, not succumb to it. Understand there's benefits in the fortress. Understand God will never call you to a place that he's not, where he's not. If he calls you to a place, he always has something for you when you show up. And this is what you need to do in the midst of your storm. Sometimes you need to go old school when you're in the midst of your storm. Hashtag go silent in your storm. Go silent in your storm. When we were growing up, not dating myself, but when there were severe storms, this is what we would do. You turn off the TV. Everybody would be still. While you're being still, you're relaxing. Not only you're relaxing physically, you're relaxing emotionally. And then you're relaxing mentally. And in the midst of the storm, when you go silent, before you even know, you fall asleep. You're asleep and you're in a peaceful state while there's a storm swirling all around you. And it never bothers you. Why? Because you went silent. And then when you woke up, are you ready for this? Your strength was renewed. So he says, God is our refuge and strength, very present help in trouble. Understand, when the storms of life start raging, don't listen to the winds, but listen to the words of Jesus. We'll say that again. When the storms, the issues, the difficulties, the hardships, the problems, life itself, demons, human beings, understand, when the storms of life start raging, don't listen to the winds, but listen to the words of Jesus. He gave us an example. The disciples were in a boat. They saw Jesus walking on the water. There was a storm. The waves were boisterous. The winds were strong. They were afraid because it was a storm and they thought they saw a ghost. But Peter spoke out and says, Lord, if it be you begged me to come to you. Jesus gave a word, and the word was called come. As Peter began to walk in the midst of a storm, he still was surrounded by peace. I want to help you out right now. He was surrounded by peace. But then guess what happened with his peace back door? But then what happened with the peace was this. The wind began to blow. And guess what happened? He allowed outside noise to disturb his peace. Good God Almighty. He allowed him to disturb his peace. And because of the storm, guess what happened? He began to sink. So, Pastor, what are you saying? I'm saying when the storms start raging in your life, listen, don't listen to what the outside noises is saying, because those noises are trying to distract you. They're trying to cause you to lose your focus. But this is also what you need to understand. I dare to step out of here, even though Jesus told Peter to come to him and Peter was walking on the water. I don't believe Peter was walking on the water. He was walking on the word. The word was his peace. It was the word that kept him above. But it was the outside noise that caused him to get distracted and he fell. So, Pastor, what are you telling me? When you hear these outside noises, you keep walking on the word of God. And as long as you keep walking on the word of God, he will always keep you above what's trying to take you under. This is what Jesus tells you and I, so that we don't get disheartened when you and I experience this. Understand this. Listen, when you are expecting something, then you never have to deal with the unexpected. When the unexpected shows up, this is how you address it. Are you ready? You simply ask it, what took you so long? Because I've been waiting on you. And this is what Jesus says in the storm. In the world you shall have. He's letting you know that you're going to experience this. These are going to be some human experiences. These are going to be some spiritual experiences. These are going to be some health experiences. This is going to be some mental experiences that you and I have to go through. Understand, as we started off with this lesson, that storms have a repetitive pattern. You're either going in one, you're either in the transitioning zone, or you're exiting one. So you need to understand that you're either entering one physically, spiritually, emotionally, relationally, financially, but you are going into a storm, or you're already in one, or you're exiting one, so that you can exit it for a season, so that the repetitive process can start all over again. But Jesus, in the world, in this age where you and I are, your anointing doesn't keep this away. How much scripture you know doesn't keep this away. How well you preach, how well you teach, how well you give in the world, you shall have tribulation. You shall have troubles. Are you ready? Troubles that are sent to you, troubles that just come in your way, and then even troubles that you even introduce to yourself. But in the world, you shall have tribulation. You shall have troubles. You shall have afflictions, persecution, and distress. But here's where your strength gets renewed in the refuge. After all this has taken place, in the refuge, here is your promise and your guarantee. He says, but be of good cheer. It's raining in your life, but be of good cheer. What could go wrong did go wrong. It did not work out for you. You didn't get the outcome that you were hoping for. Yes, you may be a little bit disappointed, but I want you to know, in spite of all the chaos of the storm, be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. When the storms of the unexpected start raging in your life, don't listen to the sound that they're making. Understand the unexpected always sounds different. Always makes a different type of noise. But don't listen to the sound that they're making. Listen to the promises of God. When it starts thundering, you know that it's a storm coming. When the strong winds start whistling, you can't see them, but you hear them, so you know a storm is coming. When you look in the sky and you start seeing the clouds start to gather, and you know that a storm is coming. But you listen to the promises of God. Here's where your strength gets renewed. Pastor, what is my strength given? In our refuge. In our God. Him alone. Your strength gets renewed. This is from the Jewish Bible. Isaiah 41 and 10 says, listen, when you're going through this, the first thing that you need is don't be afraid. But that means get yourself together. But don't be afraid. Don't let your nerves be on edge. Don't be afraid. Don't let your mind run away. What might happen? He says, don't be afraid, for I am with you. Who's with you? Our God. Who's with you? His protection. Who's with you? His strength. He says, I am with you. Listen, don't be distressed. In other words, you don't need no sleeping pills. In other words, you don't have to deal with any depression. In other words, listen, he's saying don't forfeit any of your sleep. He said don't stay up all night long and don't be getting up too early just because of what you're going through. Don't be distressed. Listen, for I am your God. He's claiming you and I in the midst of our storm. Why? Because we're claiming him. It's relationship. Yeah. I know what you're going through. I know how long you've been in it. I know what it looks like. I know what people are saying. I know how your flesh feels. I know how it looks to you. I know everyone is saying it will always be like, but this is what I need you to understand. In the midst of your storm, regardless of how dark it gets, regardless of the strong winds, regardless of the issues, regardless of the trials and the tribulations, first thing I need you to, don't be afraid. Why is that so important? Because when you're afraid, you don't think right. When you're afraid, you don't move, listen, you don't move intelligently. Understand, I am with you. Understand, if I'm with you, you don't need nobody else. And don't be distressed. Listen, don't be tripping. For I am your God. Listen, I give you strength. He is letting you and I know, because we have come to the realization that he is our refuge. It is God that gives us strength. You're not going under because God is giving you strength. You need to understand that you will be above only and not beneath because God is giving you strength. No weapon that comes up against you shall be successful. Why? Because God is giving you strength. Whatever you're going through has to release you. Why? Because you're stronger than your present situation. It says, I give you help. What I love about him is saying, when he says, I give you help, in other words, he's telling you, you don't have to call 911. I am 911. Then he says, I support you. Look at all the promises that God is giving you and I in the midst of this storm. God's house is the safest place to be. To be in a relationship with God is the safest place to be. Being in his word is the safest place to be. Being in his presence is the safest place to be. Listen to all the qualities of the promises that he's given you because you and I have ran into the refuge. I'm with you. Just because you can't feel me, I'm with you. Just because you can't hear me, I'm with you. Since I'm there with you, listen, you have no need to be worried. You have no need to be dealing with anxiety. You have no need to be dealing with doubt nor fear. He says, I'll give you strength. I'll keep you upright. I'll keep you above water. And I'll give you help. In other words, that means I'll bring you out. I am your deliverance. Listen, I support you. Listen, I support you with my victorious right hand. So, this is what you and I need to understand in the midst of the storm that you're going through. Let your storm chase you into God's refuge. Don't let your storm chase you away from God. Don't let your storm chase you away from getting on your knees. Don't allow your storm to chase you from opening up your word and reading that word. Don't let that storm chase you away from praising and worshiping and giving God what is due his name. But let the storm, regardless of how intense it is, regardless of how burdensome it may be, let your storm chase you into God's refuge. Why? It's a place of safety. It's a place of security. Listen, protection and comfort. Hashtag no better place. When the storm starts affecting your finances, because understand, we're in a storm right now. In America, we're in a storm. Around the world, we're in a storm. So when the storm starts affecting your finances through inflation, every time you turn around, you go grocery shopping. Prices are fluctuating. Every time you pull up to the gas pump, fluctuating. So when these storms start affecting your finances through inflation, through medical expenses, understand that they affect you so much that they make you a slave to wanting to be healthy. Affecting you through medical expenses, through job loss, through this governmental shutdown. You're out on furlough and you work for the government, but the government don't even want to pay you while they got you out on furlough. Don't listen to the storm's chatter. Understand, are you ready? Storms are very talkative. Storms talk to you even when you don't want to hear them. Understand that storms will try to talk to you while you're trying to go to sleep. Understand that sometimes when you wake up in the morning, even before you get your eyes opened and get the sleep out of your eyes, sometimes storms want to start talking to you even before your feet hit the floor. He says, don't listen to the storm's chatter. Meaning ignore the negative, disruptive, and chaotic noise surrounding your difficult situation. Listen, but listen to the promises of God. Here's where your strength gets renewed. Don't worry about this financial storm. Understand that your job ain't never kept a roof over your head. Let me stick a pin in somebody's balloon. Your job title and how many zeros you got behind your name ain't never kept a roof over your head. Ain't never put you behind the steering wheel of a car. Ain't never put no clothes on your back. Ain't never paid your college tuition. Here's where your strength gets renewed. But my God, personal. My God, listen, not secondhand information. My God, that personal, not tradition. Not only is the person relational. I know him and he knows me. We on talking basis. I talk to him whenever I want to, and he listens. He talks back to me, and then I listen. And then when I don't listen, he still forgives me, but the relationship is still intact. Third part, past history. But my God, personal. Not concerned about finances. Not concerned about somebody else's bills. Not concerned how somebody else is going to weather through this financial storm that we're in. But my God, because it's personal. I'm not just a church goer, I am the church. Listen, I'm a worshiper. And it doesn't matter what the situation is, I'm still a worshiper. I'm still a praiser. Relational. I love him with all my heart, my mind, my soul. I love him. I don't have a closet relationship with him. And then listen, past history. He says, shall supply. Now let's look at this word supply so you and I can get this understanding. Because in the world, when you say supply, somebody automatically starts thinking about a bank account. Somebody already starts thinking about their stocks, their bonds, their investments. But supply in Greek means, listen, nourishment. Listen, when we talk about nourishment, ain't talking about no food. It's talking about your spirit being nourished. Nourishment to furnish. Provide generously and abundantly. Listen, to make full. To complete. All your need, according to his riches and glory by Christ. All your need, financial needs. All your needs, your mental needs, your emotional needs, your health needs. My God shall supply all these needs according to his riches and glory by Christ. Hashtag provisions in the refuge. Understand, in the refuge, it makes you a candidate to receive all these promises. It makes you a candidate for his protection. Love this now. We got 13 minutes to go. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Are you ready for this? Storms will cause your friends to become scared. They're talking about hardships, things you got to go through. Storms will cause your friends to become scared. Listen, make a mental note of this. Are you ready? Difficult times in your life reveal who your true friends are. I'll say it again. Difficult times. Repetitive patterns of difficult times in your life reveal who your true friends are. Oh, I love this one. Are you ready? Hardships will show the difference between family and relatives. What do you mean, Pastor? One is connected by blood, and the other is connected by love. He says, not only is he our refuge, not only is he our strength, he's a very present, which means available. Help in trouble, help in your drama. Understand, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. When you're going through the toughest time of your life, God says, listen, I will not turn a blind eye to your situation. When you call out from the place of your pain, he said, I will not turn a deaf ear. The eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, and his ears are open to their cry. Listen, storms cause people to see you and then turn and go in the opposite direction. Storms cause people to no longer accept or return your phone calls. Storms cause people to no longer respond to your texts or reply to your emails. Storms cause people to block or unfriend you on social sites. But Jesus is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. Hashtag, your storm is an invitation. Understand, your trouble signals there's a troubleshooter on the premises. It says, many are the afflictions of the righteous, But the Lord delivers him out of them, what? All. Then he goes, therefore, here's your comfort. Therefore will not we fear though the earth be removed, though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea. Don't worry about global warming. Don't worry about earthquakes taking place in various areas. Don't worry about democracy crumbling at its core. Have that peace in the shakeup. Jesus says, peace. I know about the storms that you're in. I know how long you've been there. I know what you've been experiencing. But listen, I'm going to give you something in the midst of your storm. I'm going to give you something in the refuge.
And Jersey Seafood.
It says,
head south on
peace,
Locust Street. Then take the first left.
Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, give I to you. Let not your heart, he's talking about let not your mind be troubled. Neither let it be afraid. In the storms of life, God will be your shelter for all seasons. God will be your shelter 24/7, 7 days a week. David says, for you have been a shelter for me and a strong tower from the enemy. In the storms of crisis and issues, God will be a shelter, listen, for your mind. Isaiah says you will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you. Understand that there's available help for your situation. And then he says, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof, though hardships in your life look like rising floodwaters, though it seems like you're going to drown in your issues, God has given you a promise in your storm. Here's your promise. When you pass through the waters, keep through. When you pass through the water, that means transition zone. When you pass through the water, it means there's an exit. It says, I will be with you, and through the rivers they shall not overflow you. Understand that Jesus is your refuge. He is your safe place. He is your shelter. He is your rock. In the refuge, listen, there's protection and provision. Protection. He is Jehovah Nissi. He is the banner that you and I come up under that declares a victory. He is our provision. He is our braid. In the refuge, there's an ever-present help in trouble. In the refuge, your strength is renewed. And finally, in the refuge, you shall be kept. Understand what you and I are experiencing in 2025. Whether it's part of this government and the storm that's going across the land, whether it is demonic attacks on assignment, whether there's health issues in our physical body, whether there's issues in our mental states, whether there's issues with our spirit man, understand this thing. God is our refuge. He is eternal. He has a promise. In this refuge is safety. In this refuge is my presence. In this refuge is my word. In this refuge, your strength shall be renewed. And understand, regardless of whatever you may be going through, available help is always ready for you. And this is what you need to understand. Listen, as we close, don't allow the storm to ever make you nervous or afraid. Because the storm, listen, lets you know that God is there. Because he says, I'm a very present help in trouble. So your storm signifies, confirms, lets you know that Jesus is there with you And it lets you know that no weapon that is formed against you shall prosper. So my brother and my sister, it's time for you to run into the shelter so that you can find safety. And not only safety, you can find deliverance from the storms that's in your life. I want to extend this invitation to you. It may be someone who's watching. And listen, you're going through a storm right now in your life. Maybe you don't know Jesus at this time. That's a storm. And sin is taking away the joy out of your life. It's taking away your vision. It's taking your purpose away. And I want to extend this invitation that listen, right now, right where you are, you can run into the refuge. You can be delivered out of that life and that particular lifestyle that you're living by simply believing that Jesus died for your sins on the cross. He died for your rebellion against God. And not only did he die, he shed his blood to wash away. Listen, all the filth, all the negative things that you've ever done, that has been washed away and forgotten. And now, not only that, then he got up from the grave, that you too one day would be able to get up from the grave, be able to live an abundant life, be able to live a life full of joy. Listen, that you don't have to wait to get to heaven. You can enjoy it right where you are by simply inviting him into your life at this very moment. And now also, there may be someone else. Listen, you're simply going through. You're doing everything that God is telling you to do. But it seems like you're still going through so much drama. What can go wrong does go wrong. There seems as though there's no more good days. It seems like all days are bad days. But I need you to understand in the midst of your storm that God is your shelter. He's our refuge. He's our strength. He's a very present help in trouble. And my brother and my sister, understand, trouble don't last always. Understand that a storm is only temporary, and God is going to bring you through. Love you guys. Be encouraged. I look forward to being before you again coming this Sunday. Be blessed.